make sure you understand that if you keep in touch with your customers, they have opportunities, good times and bad times. And even if they don't have an opportunity, the fact that you checked on them leads to a good relationship.
Welcome to the Howie and Beastmode podcast, where we discuss all things business, including growth, strategy, and execution, as well as personal and professional development. Let's join Howie and Beastmode in conversation.
And then we'll go from there, okay?
Okay, that sounds good. So actually, I'm not in business right now, but I am planning for it. Currently, I'm working as a merchandise analyst for JCPenney corporate office. So I'm learning kind of a lot of the retail and the back of the story within that company. And I actually started an online clothing business about a few years ago back in college. And I really liked that, but I couldn't really dedicate my time into it just because I was in college and like my priority was to graduate on time. And so I stopped doing that, but I've always had that passion still within me that I wanted to grow my own line and brand and whatever. So right now, like a few months ago, I've been having some more downtime, I guess, with this work from home environment, and like the passions like reigniting, and I'm seeing a lot of like business ideas, a lot of like new ways you can grow your brand, like YouTube, social media platforming, and all of that. And so I was looking into that, and I really feel like I really do enjoy like the social media. Like I want to grow my brand on YouTube, and I also do want to grow my own brand in the clothing industry. But I'm like reading a lot. I'm like changing my lifestyle so that I can be more dedicated. I know I have like a little weakness of mine would be kind of being consistent. And I know that's very, very important with all kinds of businesses, and even starting like your own YouTube channel or your own brand. You have to be consistent even if you go through like failures and whatnot. And so I was just kind of looking into it, and a lot of these people that I've been researching, they're saying that you need to get a mentoring, like you need to look into mentoring, like whether it's paid or unpaid. It's always good to hear other people's perspectives and how, if they're in the business industry, like how they got there, and like if there are any words of advice or they're there not to like lead, they're not there to make decisions for you, but they're there to encourage you or to direct you in the right direction. So that's what I've been looking at, and I thought it was like really cool that Gateway had like a group like this. And so I'm joined in a few of like groups, like with the women's group or whatnot. I started going to Gateway a few years ago, but I wasn't very like involved in the church, I guess. Like I go to the services in person, and lately I've been attending online, but I think this was the first time I actually downloaded the Gateway app and then like actually saw like what's in it for us, like what's in it for Gateway. And so that's how I found this mentoring and decided to give it a shot, because like I know that business, there's some people who have like that Christian foundation in their business and some that don't, but I kind of, because I was grown up in like a Christian family and I am a follower of Christ, I wanted my business to start off with a Christian foundation. And so I thought like getting mentoring from people who are like me, who are Christians, would be also a good thing to do. So yeah.
There we go. Thanks for joining the group. Yeah, definitely. So we've had this group for a little bit over 3 years, almost 3.5 years now, I guess. And recently shifted to the one-on-one format so we could just work with people individually. And it's been really nice. I really like this shift quite a bit. I think and by the way, we podcast these. Is that okay? We also podcast this?
Yeah, that's completely fine.
Okay, cool. So Jordan, and we have this podcast, it's Howie and Beastmode. So that's why we have our names up there like that. So I'll refer to Jordan that way. But yeah, we're super excited. It's actually interesting because Jordan Beastmode has quite a bit of social experience. And then my daughter actually started a clothing line via social in 2020. Yeah. So I think not that we'll have like all the answers, but I think we could be a little bit of a sounding board and, bat around some ideas and things of that nature. But what we really do is we try to use kind of a bottom-up approach. So before we kind of give you ideas, we just like to hear your heart and your kind of what your current direction is and a little bit more. So with that in mind, do you have a specific type of clothing that you would like to focus on?
Yes. So I know I've been doing a lot of like market researching on like Gen Z, Generation Z, which is the age era right below me. And so I know they're like the growing market. They're going into the workforce industry just now and everything. And I've been noticing, like yoga items, like athletic wear, it's like growing, it's like blooming and everything. But I want it to kind of, I guess, be a little bit more unique, like trying to see ideas to tweak it a little bit. And I've also been noticing a lot of younger generations who are going into the market, like into the workforce. They're very concerned with their future, like more than anyone else in that age time, like their 20s. They're like super, especially with the virus, the coronavirus and all of that. They feel more like their life has been kind of, those years have been kind of wasted. And so they're very concerned. And I felt like maybe if I can use like some kind of athletic wear that's like not athletic wear, like business wear, to make it comfortable, so that because I know these days the Generation Z, they're also looking for comfort, like working from home, going to business meetings or their company meetings. They're looking for fashion, they're looking for something that's comfortable though at the same time, so that they can either maybe go work out in those items, like I don't know, but that's kind of what kind of items I'm really looking into. Like maybe I can tweak it a little bit, like tweak the business wear a little bit to where it's casual enough so that they don't have to like, look overly dressed or be uncomfortable during work, or like they don't have to wear this like suit at home when they're working from home. And I felt it would be kind of like an encouragement to the people that are just now getting into the workforce. And so I've also been looking into like athletic work just because I know right now that's like a booming market, but I feel the uniqueness, I guess, was what I was kind of looking into as well. So
Great. And I know Beast Mode had a couple questions. Do you have a brand name yet?
I don't. My old business that used to be called Judy's Secret, but I'm not thinking of going off of that. I was thinking like maybe making my if I do start like a company, have like a brick and mortar, I wanted to maybe make the name Gen Z, just because that's like my main target market right now, what I'm really looking into. And I don't know if there's any like clothing areas who have that name right now. And so that is like my number one thought on the brand name. If I were to ask Gen Z, like Gen Generation, I mean Generation Z. So
Yep. And then he had one more question. Do you have a website or social media yet?
no, I do not.
Okay.
I closed that down a few years ago. I had my own website, but it's like everything is just starting from basics right now. I'm still into like the studying mode. Like I'm looking into a lot of like different things. I'm reading books, getting knowledge on it. I guess my first step would be I'm looking into creating a YouTube channel, just because I feel like social media is so big these days. And I know it's going to take the most time out of there. Like I'm not going to be thinking I'm going to grow like a following or an audience after a few days or months, but it's like a gradual thing that I need to be consistent with. And so I think that would be a starting point for me.
Let me ask you a question. Are you attracted to the YouTube and the Instagram and the social, for the sake of broadcasting and sharing content? Is that like, what's the pull? Or is the pull, I know I have to do this to sell the clothing?
I think I'm not sure about like, I guess it's for to grow like to grow a following within that social media, so that if I do launch a brand someday, when I do launch my brand, then I feel like these customers, these people who are watching me, like, why would they want to buy from me? Like, what kind of why, like, just the why. And so I feel like I need to create that trust within my following so that they will want to purchase from me, so that they know, oh, I can trust her with her items, then I can, I would want to purchase it. And so that's kind of why I wanted to start the social media platform, just because people don't know me. And so if I just open something, they're like, if it's not like a physical store right away and it's like Forever 21 or something, then it's not, I feel like it wouldn't be as impacting, I guess, to buy. So that was like my first approach. And I wasn't going to like start like a channel, I guess, about clothes. I was just trying to see like what kind of interest, like that's another area I'm studying right now, is what are these people researching on YouTube? Like, what is that generation like really, really concerned about, focused about? Like, what are they searching? And so, yeah, that's kind of where I was looking into it.
No problem. I just typed in some notes here.
Yeah, so I'm like, I feel like I don't have much to like share any substance right now, but I'm just really, it's like my big beginning stages. And so,
But ultimately, I mean, you work in a merchandise role at JCPenney. You did have, um, some online that you were doing before. What were you selling before? Man, I'm sorry if you already told me this.
no, I was selling women's clothing. Just I went to Korea and I would import clothes, or I would buy from wholesalers in LA. And so I sold that online, but I didn't do any like advertising for that store. And so I didn't have any online traffic except for very, very few. But what I did was I went to downtown. They used to have like these night markets once or twice a month in downtown Dallas. And so I would take all of my clothes and market over there with like different vendors, and I got a whole lot of traffic then. And so that's kind of where I found the joy of having a business, just because, like, it felt awesome when people were buying from you and they were like wearing your clothes and stuff. So yeah, but it was
Yeah, and
clothes. Like,
that's kind of the, on Shark Tank, you listen to Mark Cuban talking about, going door to door, knocking on doors and hustling and getting on the phone, that kind of thing. That approach that you just talked about feels like the hustle first approach. The social approach feels like a very slow, approach that's very competitive, when you already have proven you can sell even without that. So it's almost like you have to choose your passion a little bit. I'm not done asking questions, and Beast Mode, by all means, jump in with questions too. But I worry that if we spend 3.5 years building a social channel and we get up maybe several thousand followers or whatever, that's good. That is positive. But if the I'm not that's a very low revenue thing to have a few thousand followers, or even if you had quite a several thousand followers, it's a pretty low revenue thing to do. And it's a lot of time to create content and be an influencer. And yet you've already shown the hustle and the sourcing chops and some of these things to go and actually find product and get the product into the hands of, sounds like it was the middleman, right? Like buyers. Yeah. So, to me, I don't know. I like to help people double down on what they do that we kind of know will work, and then have a little bit of time for the other thing. So when you went to Korea and you got clothes, what kind of, so it's women's clothes, right?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was it just anything, or do you have a theme?
It was like casual, everyday, like just like what women my age at that time liked, like the cute trending items. Korea's usually very fast with their fashion trends, so they will have like maybe 1 or 2 years ahead of before USA will get those like those clothings in, and so they're very unique. I guess like what was in trend over there in Korea, it'll trend like 2 years after in America. And so that's kind of why I liked to go to Korea to get it. Shipping and all of that was super expensive. And so what I did was I would usually just go myself um, to Korea and like hand pick these clothes. Like I like to look at what I'm buying first. And so I used to go to a lot of markets like wholesalers and pick them out, and then I would bring it back with my luggage. And so all I would have to do is pay for the taxes. And I didn't have to like pay shipping fee since it's like 2 bags are free on the airline. So
Hmm.
that's what I did. It wasn't very sustainable just because I couldn't fly out there like every single time. So
Yeah.
that's why I kind of looked into LA, just because it is closer. And if I did grow, it's much cheaper to ship to LA than Dallas. And my dad's living in LA, so that's also a connection there. And so, but yeah.
Okay. Now, do you have any history, background,
Mhm.
or skill set in creating clothes yourself? Like can you sew? Have you done any sewing?
I do not. That's something my dad was. He's also a businessman, and so he was saying that would be like another skill that you could learn. You know, if you were up to like wanting to create something instead of like purchasing items that other people have already bought, like maybe you could branch out in that way. But I just have like no knowledge in sewing and like all of that, and so.
Do you want to learn that, or do you like to find cool stuff? Is there
Mm,
something exciting about finding cool stuff and then putting cool stuff in the hands of people? Or do you have a desire in your heart to be
mhm.
hands-on and physically create it?
I mean, if I can, yeah, that would be awesome. I guess I didn't find the passion to like really look into it, like see what kind of classes there are to offer and like where I would go to learn these things. But I mean, in my mind, like I'm always like thinking, oh, if I can just tweak this clothes like this, or if I can make this shirt like this, then, but it's so easy to think about it than actually do it hands on. So, yeah.
Okay.
Judy, I got a couple of things for you.
Mhm.
So first up, I just wanted to comment on a couple of things. I love just kind of your openness, just the heart to just receive guidance and not coming in guarded. I truly love that.
Mm.
Um, and I want to share a few things with you. Now, I'm going to go pretty quick,
Oh.
mainly because I've done like a 30-minute audio on this, so it's be easy to go back and get more detail. But
Mhm.
you're talking about this social media, and I'm kind of in agreement with Howie that like I want to spend more time about why that is,
Mhm.
why we want to focus there first, or what's in your heart behind it. But there's 7 characteristics, 7 traits
Mhm.
about and it's what that defines a buyer, right?
Okay.
And so whenever we are in business and we're marketing or we're advertising or we're considering to put something out there to be purchased, we need to take these 7 factors into place because this is how customers are going to buy, right? And I'm just going to list them off for you. So number one is people make purchase decisions rooted in emotional impulses as much as logical facts, right?
Mhm.
So it's not just cut and dry, there's emotion behind it, right? Number two, buyers have egos. Okay. Number three, buyers have a greater commitment to fleeting losses than to seeking gains. That's why there's a lot of people they're going to lower their price, right? As opposed to trying to market and say, this is why, show the value. Most customers care about how much money are you going to save me? And it's very difficult to convince somebody over the long term. Well, over 10 years, you're going to have to buy their product 5 times and you're never going to have to buy ours but once. They don't care. They want to save money today, right? Number 4, buyers are naturally suspicious. Okay. Number 5, buyers respond psychologically to visual elements and stories. Number 6, buyers crave value. The value is different than the fleeting losses. The value is how much can I get for my commitment, right? Number 7 is buyers travels in packs. So whenever we're discussing, should we start a social media channel, the social media channel needs to be to hit as many of these aspects as possible. If I'm starting a social media to tap into 4, 5, and 6 of these traits, then it's a great idea. If I'm starting a social media with all the work that goes behind it to hit into one aspect, then it's not necessarily a bang for my buck. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so that's why if we don't have a product yet, if there's nothing that we're marketing, then the only thing we're marketing is ourselves, right? Which is kind of what you talked about, which is great because again, we want to tap into emotions. We want to tap into the visual elements and the stories. We want to try to get packs of customers to come in, right? But again, there has to be something that we're going towards, meaning they're watching you go step by step. Maybe again, if you were going down the same alley and you were like, hey guys, this is how I do it. I'm going to Korea. And then you have your little TikTok where it's fast and you're getting on a plane, getting over to Korea and you're doing all that. Then you're inviting, customers in. But if there's not that aspect and there's nothing an end goal for a customer to receive, then it's hard, like Howie was talking about. Now it's based solely on followers and you're going to need thousands upon millions for that to be profitable. Whereas we could spend the time, effort, and energy actually getting a product and having somebody purchase my product. You know what I'm saying? And so, but these 7 elements are key, super key. This is how everybody buys everything. Doesn't matter if you're buying a Starbucks drink to if you're buying a house, you're buying it on these 7 characteristics. Now buyers, they rank these 7 in different orders, and that's okay. Part of you and your brand is developing, where am I going to focus on, right? And which one does my customers respond the most to, right? Because if I'm focusing on value, right, and that's my number 1 that I'm putting out there, well, Walmart can come in and beat your value all day. So then I need to readjust and maybe move story up. And then maybe I need to focus on buyers travel in packs. So I need to go and grab them from this area over in Dallas. Well, does McKinney have a similar thing? And does Frisco have a similar thing? Now I grab a pack. The pack is going to grab their pack. They're coming in. Now we go to social together. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So, so my initial thought for you is I did a 2-part, and I'm not plugging Howie and Beastmode, I'm just telling you, I did a 2-part episode on branding. I spent an hour and a half just talking through this type of stuff. I think it was back in August. I would go listen to that. And then just because it goes from very basic, what branding is, why do I need to brand, how do I develop a brand, where do I go? It goes through everything, right? So I would do that. Okay. Now, can we move off of brand? Howie, do you have anything before I adjust course?
I mean, you saw me kind of giving you a thumbs up and a high five there. It was pretty inspiring for me. So, I mean, I wrote those down myself. So Judy, I'm starting a new job next Monday. And yeah. And so, I'm going to be trying to learn their new products. And then I have to go represent those products as a channel manager to help people who are partners of this company go sell stuff. And so, I mean, I honestly feel like these are really good for me to make sure as I'm training our partners that I'm tapping into these 7 as well to help them in the most optimal way. not just from a getting them engaged standpoint, but really to really move them, to help move their customers. So I mean, I was, yeah, I don't have anything to add to it other than I think with your Enneagram type beast mode, I would probably say you would be suggesting research, yes, but also like maybe do some small experiments. I don't know
Yes.
if you're okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be my next comment is because you were sharing that you don't know if you want to do athletic wear or if you want to do more formal attire. I love the reasoning behind both, and I think you can run with either. And just as Howie said, I think you should go with both initially. Find out what your customers want, right? Maybe you make 50 of athletic wear, 50 of this formal wear, which side plug, there's a lady who goes to Gateway that we interviewed just like this, like a month ago, who she's a tailor. She does her
Oh
own
my
clothes.
gosh,
So
that's
you
such a
may
good
want to
time.
reach out to her, and she
Yeah.
does it mobily, which again, if you saw me, whenever you talking about opening a shop, I'm shaking my head
No way.
because the biggest thing for a business is operational cost, your gas, electric, your building, these physical costs, and they're a lot, right? And then your staff. Those, I mean, that's generally over 80 to 85% of your budget. And if you can take 40% or almost 50% of that 80% that we just talked about by not having a lease, now I have something that it can be sustainable before I go out there. You know, Jesus talks about, he gives a real quick parable about don't begin building something unless you have made sure that you have enough materials before, because you don't want to start something and then run out, right? Now he's talking about discipleship in that parable, but it's the same thing. You know, if I'm going to go down a new task and I'm going to go down a new way, I need to make sure, I mean, because that's how most businesses get into trouble. They get financially unstable. And so now I'm focusing on, I need to pay the rent, I need to pay my employees. And so my product suffers, my customer suffers, all because I'm focusing on that. Whereas if I just do this out of the house for a year, 2 years, and then now I have sustainable things where I'm going to these markets or I'm going to people's houses and I'm bringing my product, my service to them, and allowing somebody to have like a formal session, you know? And then now, I mean, so these are just some ideas.
Oh, they're powerful. They're amazing. So Beastmode knows this, but he doesn't know this other side of it. I started a website business back in 2010. That seems like a long time ago. Trust me, it's not. And it didn't work out, but I spent like $125,000 on it. But it was a pretty bad hit, but incredible lessons like I can't even describe. But it wasn't to sell something. It was a social media, where you could go, basically you could honor somebody. You could thank or honor somebody. So it's a specialized site for that. So it didn't work out, but here's the thing. I spent $80,000 to build the website with the developer. I spent about 13,000 or 15,000 on a launch event. And then I spent quite a lot of money on marketing on Google and things like that nature. What did you not hear? Right? No staff. You heard no lease. I'm just getting behind beast mode 1,000%. Here's the reason why. This is the part of the story that he has not heard. A friend of mine raised from friends and family $600,000 to start a website at the same time as me. He was about a year ahead of me, I would say. The website had to do with hobbies and interests and finding people who had your same interests. It was a cool idea. But he had an office and he had an admin. And the guy literally burned $600,000 to find out that his website would not work with the public. I burned 125, right? I didn't have to borrow a dollar from friends and family. Now I did destroy my retirement. It's taken years and years to build retirement, but it's still not all the way. But the point is that, to Beast Mode's point, my friend, who is a believer, a good person, like I'm still connected with this person on Facebook. We don't really talk, but we still have that connection and that history together. But he burned $600,000 to do the same experiment that I did, where I burned 125. And I know that's a big number still. I realize that. The point is not the scale of the size. The point is what Beast Mode is saying is like, you can buy like 25 sweatsuits, you know what I mean, or 20, and market them that way. My daughter, so this is not a bad time to kind of validate what he's saying with trying both and all this as well. My daughter started during the pandemic. She goes to OU, and they sent her down. They sent her home, obviously with the pandemic, probably around May or so, or it might have been like April. And so she's sitting around the house trying to do classes remotely and the whole thing. And at the time, what was really on trend was tie-dye. And it is a little bit still, but it was really hot right then. And so she learned how to make tie-dye, and then somebody noticed it and said, would you make me one? And she sold them, and it just started spreading word of mouth. Then she set up an Instagram called Mad Dyes Apparel, and it has several hundred followers. It's nothing explosive, like a major channel, but it drove thousands of dollars in her part-time. Yeah, and all she did was basically every day, 7 days a week, she would post at the same time, and it would be a model, some friend of hers. And so that friend would post the pictures, and then her channel would post the pictures, and then she would mention the product, and these are all custom clothing, etc. But she built, we don't have really good data from the time, but it might have been like close to $4,000 or $5,000 in a few months, and it just blew up. And this is with a small, like I said, a few hundred social presence that started with 0 social presence. But it's almost like the sales drove the social, not the social drove the sales.
Yes.
But as with a process of posting and using her friends as influencers, each one of them had several hundred followers. So the channel grew over time, and then also word of mouth. So I think just to back up what Beastmode, and I'm going to pass the floor back to you, but I think just to back you up with the smallest experiments, I've seen that work. I've also seen going for product. I've also seen using influencers and not waiting until you're big to try it out.
Yeah. I clarify real quick, Howie, if I'm wrong. She was per order. So somebody would order, then she would make it. So she never had to have anything on hand. Now, Judy, I'm not saying that's the same for you. I'm just saying that you could have, maybe if you have 5 styles, let's just say of athletic wear, 5 styles of formal wear, maybe you have, one of each size on hand so that you're not overwhelmed with having to seek space. But you can be more of a la carte per order. Maybe you have some that's specifically for the shows whenever you go out on the weekends or something like that, earmarked for that. But yeah, I totally would just allow the product to be what it is. Because again, when you're at this position and you're not 100% sure, you kind of want it to guide it. And so again, just as Howie said, one way that you can get following, get people into your tribe, it's a word that Howie likes to use, is so again, you offer somebody, hey, I'm going to give you a free outfit. I'm going to take pictures of you in that outfit in a couple of different spots so it benefits you. And I need you to go, I'm going to tag you. I'd like for you to share it. So everybody wins. But at the same time, again, that's one way to get their pack. Remember, that was one of the 7 to get their pack in. You're muted, Howard.
Sorry. Just to support what Beastmode is saying there again, there was a pack effect to it.
Yeah.
There was.
Yeah.
And also there was something about the experience of taking photos outside.
Yeah.
Like she found some cool areas just in Grapevine, and same place where Beastmode and I took our picture for the show. But there's like little brick walls and little trees and little alleys and little fun things, little stairways that go up. And then she would just have her friends show up there, mostly ladies, but a few guys as well, because tie-dye, had some of an appeal to guys as well. But, I do. And I don't know if you make it. I do know that this lady that Beastmode's talking about was eager to do work.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting connection there.
The lady from Gateway who's in the
Mhm.
tailoring business.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's public because we did a similar talk with her, but she had a storefront, and same thing, she had to roll back and bring her storefront back home. And we were elevating her, telling her that's not a setback, that's a blessing. Take
Mm,
this, what you're doing, you're doing so well, but take it mobile. And now
mm,
you cut that cost, even if you have a great deal, you know. And I mean, again, there's probably is some great deals out there, but still, if that great deal is $2,000 a month, well, that's $2,000 a month that I don't have to spend. If I can just, and if I do it for a year, that's 24 grand that
mhm.
I'm saving, and I can allocate somewhere else. Because there's a lot of things you won't be able to do on your own,
Mhm.
right? You're gonna need help. Well, if I don't have a storefront, now I have 24 grand, I can get help,
Mm,
right?
right, right.
Otherwise, if I have a storefront, I still need help, but now I don't have those resources.
Mhm.
Uh,
I think there's a market for, I mean, I'm excited about what you already did, and I don't want to take you
yeah.
back there. It's just like if I had connections in Korea, first of all, that's cool.
Yes.
Mm.
By itself, like that sounds
Yeah.
impressive by itself.
I want to go.
I know, right? He's ready to go help you out. Um, but like, I mean, there's something that's really cool about that. Do you still have those connections? Do you still have any of that that's possible?
Well, yeah, the lady that I worked with in Korea, one of my vendors, I still have her contact information and everything, and she loves it when I go because she knows I always purchase a lot from there. But yeah, I did a lot of
Let me
self
ask you a
things.
question.
Uh-huh.
Let me ask you a question. Is it possible that you could even, and I know you probably don't mind traveling, but is it possible with FaceTime and with like Zoom and everything that a certain amount of things could even be remote, like to make, make it a little bit easier?
Mm. Um, well, last thing I know, she is very not tech savvy,
Oh, okay. Okay.
because she actually she's not like a vendor, a wholesale vendor, but her store is in like Korea has a lot of markets like where they sell clothes for very, very cheap, where anyone can go in and buy. Like we don't have that here in America, but like a t-shirt over there would be like $5 or something. And it's just like a regular market where people like us can just go in and buy it. But she gave me, just because I purchased a whole lot because I loved her clothes, she gave them to me like for a very good price, like even better than that. And so that's where the connection was. But I haven't been there for a few years since I don't do it anymore. But um, she, yeah, she has a hard time with like phones and all of that. So I would have to visit there if I were to go back to Korea to do it. I'm going to LA in a few weeks with my dad to visit the wholesalers over there in the fashion district just to see if I can find a market that's like more sustainable, something that I can work with. I mean, these days there's a lot of people who are buying from Alibaba. It's like the Chinese vendor like system. And so that's I've been looking a lot into that. Just I'm like kind of getting like insecure with it just because I'm very like I want to see my products so that I can like trust it and everything. But I know a lot of people are using it just like by researching and choosing their vendors like that. So I know there's going to be risks that I do need to take just in this world right now to create anything. But yeah, I think that is a good idea. I was really thinking of that, like maybe I could buy certain products like from Alibaba or like in LA and then maybe market those. But yeah, I'm kind of like going back and forth. Like, should I purchase something that's already made and sell
Yeah.
it? Or should I have to like create another idea to tweak these clothes to make it
Mm.
a brand? And so I'm not sure like if I can make a brand with something that's already made or not. So
Yeah,
that's
that was going to be my next kind of question and comment is there's
Mhm,
going to be um I don't want to this may sound a little too
mhm,
rough, but I don't mean it rough. There's a line in the sand moment where you're going to have to decide, am I basically going to be a wholesaler,
mhm,
right? A middleman wholesaler where I'm buying clothes super cheap, and I'm just passing it along to customers who have no idea about this connection, and you're making a portion off the top? Or am I going to bring my story in my style and the vision that God has for you that's super unique and creative that only you have, right? Am I going to bring that in there? And yes, I think you can take, if somebody's making quality shirts, but then you're putting a design or a patch or something on there, I think you could totally do that. There's wisdom in doing that instead of making the shirts yourself.
It's funny because there's you've seen a market of where, or you've seen these clothing where, there's like a little bit of a rip here, and yet it's like the shirt is not compromised, but it looks cool. And it's not just for guys. I know that rustic look or whatever does work well with certain guy clothing, but girls are obviously ripping jeans, and there's a process of sandpaper and then washing them. There's a process. If you could find out what is the process to do rough up on existing clothing, then like Beastmode said, you might even find a shirt like at Walmart. Like my daughter did all her tie-dye by buying in bulk from Walmart until they ran out. And then she found a supplier online that could sell t-shirts very competitively, maybe better quality too, actually. But if you could find out, like, I don't know if that sounds cool to you or not, but and I don't even know if that's still trendy or not, to do clothing that has like little rough spots or whatever it may be. But I mean, if that's a thing, then whatever the treatment, just like Beastmode said, it might be a patch, it might be stamping a logo, it might be something else, but small tweaks to an existing situation is possible. Also, if you think about, there's more than one type of online shop, right? Or, and I'm sort of like pushing you online as well, because I'm scared of the cost of retail also. That could be in the future, and it's not how you test something. You test it online, and then if it's really proven, maybe you do your own brick and mortar. But I think there's like, okay, Eddie Bauer, all their stuff says Eddie Bauer, right? But then you go to like American Eagle or some of these others, and it's not JCPenney, and they find cool stuff, quality stuff at a good price, and then they aggregate. So you don't have to be the original manufacturer necessarily. And the great thing is, like, if you have a name that doesn't lock you in, then you can be kind of both and see what happens. But like the idea of, I think it's attractive to think about, hey, this is cool. Like she shops, she goes and she sources, things in other countries or in other states, or probably both. Whatever it may be. It's like you may find yourself going to India and finding very cool, because I can tell you right now, I did that and I spent hundreds of dollars, and there's such unique stuff. And I went to Bangalore, India, and I came home with like tons of stuff, and some of it was so unique and cool and interesting, and some of it my wife said was stupid, but that's the risk of a guy doing it. I just didn't know without fashion. But the Korea, India, LA, whatever it may be. But you could have like nomad in the name would be interesting for if you're going to be sourcing all these kinds of things. And if you're trying to have a youthful look instead of Gen Z, because that'll be gone like in 3 years, but you can do like young nomad, or just something where it's like by and I'm not pushing the name nomad. I'm just saying that gives people a word picture that you're really sourcing from neat places. You're bringing experiences to them that maybe they would have had to go elsewhere for, and maybe you are helping them get 2 years ahead in some cases. So I think it's fine to start off aggregating, and then if you do find that you work with this lady we're talking about, or whatever it may be, because she does want to do design as well, then you can fold and see if some of that works as well. But starting off as an aggregator, whether it's Alibaba or doing your own sourcing or both, I think is a great idea.
Yeah, I think you should do Gen J.
Gen J.
Yeah, you're the generation. Yeah, you want a pack, they're going to be in the Gen J pack. That's what I think.
Cool
but
too.
what I was thinking though too is, and this will probably be my last comment before we go into prayer time, but there is, and again, I'm not super fashy like Howie either, but there is a thing about taking current clothing but adjusting the fit. And this is what Danielle does, right? And so you're taking a fit, so again, if you go to, I didn't want to name drop stores, but if you go to like Old Navy or JCPenney, like Howie said, there's certain brands that fit a certain way, right? But now, if your clothes fit a certain way, you're taking an existing product, keeping the same thing, but now they just fit a certain way. Now that's a brand. And then now I can put my logo on it, my Jim J logo on it, and again, if, maybe it's a stitching or maybe it's something like that. But I will send you an email that includes Howie, and as a recap, introducing you to Danielle and allowing you guys to connect. I think you guys would be a great fit. She's here locally, over in kind of like the Arlington area, if I remember right. But I think you guys could really, really get something. So
yeah, I'm excited.
Me too. So Howie, you have anything else?
No, I'm excited for you, and it's kind of fun to be at the early stage to be able to have a chat with you.
Good.
So yeah, definitely,
Yes.
feel free to keep in touch. We can do these, in the future. And so yeah, just feel free to keep in touch. I will be typing. I've been typing as we went along here, but I will be sending you a few notes as well.
Yes.
It will be impossible to capture all the great nuggets that Beastmode gave and that you gave.
It's recorded.
It is recorded. Yeah, yeah, there you go. Watch the
Yes.
It's actually a good idea, for sure.
Yeah, so go back and watch this one, but then go back, and I'm being serious. If nothing else, just go back and check out the 2 episodes on branding. I really think that they would help in just kind of giving you some clarity and direction. But just as Howie said, we want to hear from you again. We don't want this to be the last time we hear from you. We'd love to continue guiding you. And again, if, here in a couple of weeks, you want to pop back on, then we would love to have you get some updates.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you going to send the links for the podcast on the email recap as well?
I think we can get it to you.
I think I'm just gonna send you the notes. Beastmode probably is a better source for what's the easiest links.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get it to you.
Wisdom and insight, I believe, is meant to be shared just as well. Just like when Solomon received all of his wisdom, the